I have as much love for a Suzuki Alto as I do for a, I don't know, Ferrari insert numbers and letters here.
I got more for the Alto than a Ferrari.
How good's a Suzuki Alto?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's ruining car culture for those of us that don't drive like a dickhead.
Yeah.
I also think it's funny that...
Inspired by a video game. No, they're inspired by wealth. What they're doing is showing each other how big their dicks are.
Now on the used market, they've dipped under $50,000. We're talking a car that retailed for over $150,000 with on-road costs and a couple of options. So they've already dropped $100,000 in value in a couple of years. It's just horrific.
But what sort of a shallow vein posturing prat would you have to be to buy one?
Welcome to Auto Uncovered, where we drop the sump on the automotive industry to see what's dirty, what's clean, what's good, what's bad. How are you, mate?
I'm in full sludge processing mode. I've never heard that expression, dropping the sump in relation to what we do, but it's apt.
I think we should try every week now to have a different sort of car analogy around.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, pulling the curtain, lifting the lid, dropping the sump.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Skimming the head.
Skimming the head. Valving the piston.
That's it.
Yeah. What's news? What's happening?
Well, what are you talking about this week?
Hoons, mate.
Hoons.
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 The good and the bad of Hoons.
This Hoon culture thing, the mainstream media obsession with Hoon culture is overblown, I feel.
Can I have an example of the overblownness?
Yeah.
Now listen to this. This is
Overblow me.
Wonderful Channel 10 news here. This is a story that went live, I think, yesterday or the day before. Here we go.
Hooning drivers have taken over the streets of the city, leaving some residents without sleep and others fearing for their children's safety.
Ooh.
Locals say they think it's thanks to a video game and social media, with some drivers using the Sydney skyline as a backdrop.
So let's just stop it there. What's going on? It's down near Barangaroo. And it's, people going up and down the street. Apparently this is the first time from when you go through the rest of the story, this is the first time in human history that anyone's done this with a car.
But what exactly is the conduct that has sparked this media outrage?
Well, between the dozen or so speed humps that are up and down that strip, they're accelerating between said speed humps. So they get a bit of a pop and crackle out of various European performance cars.
But they're not doing 120.
No. Because you can't between how many roundabouts are there. So they're not actually speeding. It's just, it is a bit noisy.
Right.
Yeah. Now, I think there's pros and cons to this. I live in...
But that is completely out of kilter with the risk, because what we're talking about is some people fearful for their children's safety. That's not the same thing as dangerous conduct.
No.
Like, we're in the domain of hooning and hurt feelings.
But why are the kids out on a street at night time in a built-up area like Barangaroo? The kids should be at home in bed.
Locked up.
Because the only time that the hooning happens is generally after sort of 9:30 at night. It's pretty late.
The hooning that really puts people at risk happens after midnight.
Exactly.
Right.
Also, that strip, if you're not from Sydney and don't know the area, on one side you've got a cliff face. You've literally got the sandstone that Barangaroo has been built on one side, and on the other side is currently construction and a lot of scaffolding.
Like the hoarding and that.
Yeah. So at the moment, I don't know what children are out there playing on that particular street where their lives are in danger.
Yeah, but that's just like ultimate slow news day. You know, like I always remember when there's like really slow news, it's like you do a fake live cross to Emily from the Adelaide branch, and she's standing out the front of a scene where someone drove through a fence. 12 hours ago.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, well, thank you, Mark. You can see I'm standing here next to the hole in the fence that was, and you're thinking, Jesus, nothing happened today.
Yeah.
That's like a nothing burger being sexed up into a something burger so that everyone watching free-to-air news, i.e. people over 75 years of age, can be outraged at young Hoons carving up society. Like, piss off.
It's so ridiculous. And
there's a few people enjoying their cars with the bimodal exhaust going...
Yeah. And also the whole influenced by a computer game or social media. It's like, well, no. If it was by a computer game, I'm assuming it would be Gran Turismo or Forza or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is racetrack stuff. Like they're going up and down the street, making a bit of racket. That's been going on since the moment we got off a horse.
Where's the evidence for the computer game did it to the extent that it is actually conduct that we need to sanction anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, look,
you know how you handle that? You put a couple of cops somewhere and you pull people over and you say, hey, dude, knock it off.
Yeah.
Like this is different than doing 160 up the street. And this is what shits me about the mainstream media, and often the politics of this follows the mainstream media. You get reports like that and then the politicians feel as if they have to do something, you know. And what they really have to do is they have to crack down on the dude who has been disqualified from driving for 12 to 15 years because he's been a bad boy multiple times, and he's just been pulled over again because he drove through a red light at $1.20 in a 50 zone with two unrestrained kiddies in the back, and when they gave him a breath test, he blew .25 again. Like that's the real hoon.
Yeah.
That's the irresponsible fuckhead driving around us, and he could take out your girlfriend or my parents, or what's someone going to do about that? He's not even going to know he's driving through a red light.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And there's no sanction for that dickhead. They keep fining him, obviously, and they disqualify him for longer and longer. But I would argue that, cancelling someone's license for another 5 years when it's already been cancelled for 10.
Yeah. It's clearly not working.
He needs to go inside.
Yeah.
There needs to be a next step for these assholes,
Yes.
right? And I've got complete sympathy for the cops, because on this one, it's very, very confronting for the cops to knock on someone's door and say, hey, your kid's not coming home.
Yeah.
Right? Because this fuckhead just ran them over.
Yeah.
Now, obviously delivered with somewhat more tact than that.
Yeah.
But that's the core thesis of the message that they have to keep delivering. And they find these people, they sanction them, they arrest them and whatever, and then they just get another fine and longer disqualification. I mean, you have to really try to go inside for a traffic offence.
Oh, big time.
You have to kill someone.
Yeah.
Or maim them.
Even in terms of, I've got a couple of mates that are one's ex-highway patrol, one's current highway patrol, and they agree, after, away from the job, some of the rules they have to enforce in terms of, especially this scenario where you've got the cars that are creating this havoc, as the news puts it, they're all Audi RSs and AMG Mercedes and BMW M cars, or Lamborghinis and Ferraris. Like they're modified, but they're modified with the highest quality components. They're tuned with an inch of their lives. There's nothing life-threatening about the car. And my mates said that the cops are like, we have to defect them, even though there's thousands of other cars that have terrible brakes, bald tyres, God knows what safety issues.
Every second modified four-wheel drive can't stop.
Exactly right. But there's no... Why these guys are getting picked on because, again, the media brings attention to it, or the politicians go, we need to focus on these hoons.
But the only offence they'd be committing is noise, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. What they'll do, they'll pull them over and there'll be the noise complaints, which is EPA, and then they can start hunting around the car for other problems. And look, for sure, there are definitely... we can't just generalise all modified cars as being great. There are some absolute nightmares out there. There's some really dangerous stuff. Yeah. As is, there are some absolute wankers and muppets driving like complete tools in modified cars.
Sure.
Like, doing massive burnouts out the front of a Cars and Coffee. Well, you're a wanker if you do that. But
you bring the whole thing into disrepute too,
exactly.
By extension.
Well, that's ruining car culture for those of us that don't drive like a dickhead.
Yeah.
So there's obviously a time and a place, but a bit of a rev between speed humps around Barangaroo, and even in a properly fast car, you're not getting up to 70k an hour between those speed humps.
Sure.
So I'm not seeing how anyone's in danger. I also think it's funny
inspired by a video game. No, they're inspired by wealth. What they're doing is showing each other how big their dicks are.
Exactly. Also, the people that are complaining, have you seen the property prices around Barangaroo?
Yeah.
I suppose if you've gone and spent $25 million on a townhouse, and then out the back on the street that's below you, you've got some cars popping and crackling, that would be disappointing, dropping that much money. And then
heaven forbid that there would be vibrant culture around a place like that you've invested. Like, part of vibrancy is it's going to be noisy outside.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that shit goes on in Rome.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Like some of the A-grade real estate in Rome will be looking over the Via Lamborghini, you know, the Via Ferrari, the Via whatever, you know, and all you'd be able to hear is
I think part of living in a place like Barangaroo or anywhere in that area where it's a huge tourist area, loads of traffic, obviously there's going to be bringing a lot of, you know, culture of all shapes and sizes. You have to expect a bit of that going on. There's going to be some noise. There's
going to be other shit that like Vivid.
Oh,
Come on.
yeah.
Like, what are we going to start complaining about Vivid because it was so bright in the middle of the night for the kiddies?
The sound of 15,000 people walking past my house was distracting.
There's a real thing about car culture. There's some negative connotation that I've never been able to get to the bottom of. And I was thinking about it the other day because I drove out through Box Hill and Nelson and places like that on the way to Richmond from my joint, right? And that's where Amaroo Park was.
Yeah.
And that doesn't exist anymore, right? And the same thing with Oran Park. Like Oran Park was this iconic racetrack out there and they've turned it into like A.V. Jennings display home, whatever. The first thing they did was just get all these bulldozers in and they knocked down everything that looked like a racetrack and turned it into just prefabbed houses, right?
Yeah.
If that had been any other kind of half-cultural facility, like I can name plenty of places, there was a brewery opposite the University of Technology in Sydney and they had to keep the facades, when they turned it into apartments, right? And they had to keep the basic street structure inside the brewery and it was a shithole. It's not even like, come on, heritage.
Yeah.
And in Eastwood, which is a suburb sort of in the immediate northwest of the Sydney, there was a brick pit, right? And they turned that into apartments.
Yep.
And this is just like a shithole brick pit that had a chimney and a brick building.
Yep.
They had to keep them.
Can't knock that down.
And its relationship with the cultural fabric of Australia is tenuous at best, I would argue, and yet there were so many people who would have made their excursions out to Amaroo Park and out to Oran Park to see Brocky and Dick Johnson and all of those dudes fight it out in the latest round of the Touring Car Championship or something.
Yeah.
And it was okay to just completely eliminate them from the face of the fucking planet.
Yeah.
We didn't need to pay cultural homage to that, but the brick pit in Eastwood had to stay. Like, please.
Yeah. And look, again, almost going to contradict myself here. I live in a relatively busy street, and I have to admit, on a weekday night when someone's got a pop and crackle tune on their Golf R or their i30N up and down the street, that's annoying. And also, it's a very suburban area that I live in, so I feel like, okay, if you're going to be doing revving and popping and crackling, don't do it in the suburbs.
Go to Barangaroo, where you get on the news.
Exactly, or do it like out on some remote road, or do it on track, even better. So I think I'm not defending all Hoon behaviour. Some of it is ridiculous. But in this particular situation where the news has grabbed hold of it and made it sound like it's the end of the world.
It's a nothing burger.
It's absolutely nothing.
But you know how I worked in news on television for ages, right? And for tabloid TV as well, like Current Affair and Today Tonight. And you come away with a completely different take when you've been inside it, right? Because some news stories happen purely because there's vision. We got some video of someone doing a thing. Yeah. We'll just turn it into a story because we've got the vision. And we're going to use the vision in the promo, right? To keep people watching. The reason you need a promo is to stop people changing channels during the ads. Yeah. It doesn't matter if the story's a piece of shit, right? Yeah. As long as you is it a good promo?
Yeah, yeah.
The promo is more important.
It's clickbait.
It's like, up next, a pair of tits.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's purely
and now
clickbait.
Here's some funeral insurance, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so you're waiting for the pair of tits and it's, not what you expected when you get back.
You also raise a really good point, which is something I've felt as a car enthusiast, that you feel demonized.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's amazing. It's one of those activities that I can't remember the last time I saw a news report or anything like that was around car culture that was actually positive. It always seems to lean towards the negative in some way.
Yeah, and there's also this phenomenon of the news being an inversion of reality. Have I talked to you about that ever?
Yeah, off camera we have. But yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So
remind me and the viewers and listeners.
Here's a fake promo, okay? Up next, a man in custody after a woman brutally butchered in Bidwell. Yeah. Right? Then you have an ad break, you get your funeral insurance and Macca's meal deal, whatever, and you're thinking, woman brutally butchered, man in custody, those bastards, men. Yeah, you know, it's all of that, right? It ties into that demonisation culture where all men are bastards who are just waiting for the opportunity to murder their partner. Yeah. I've never wanted to do that, and I've had numerous conversations at the pub with mates, and none of them have ever voiced any desire to do anything like that either. It's a complete inversion of reality. The real story about that shit is that everyone gets home safely, and most nights are overwhelmingly uneventful because we live in a safe fucking society. Yeah. And most people who love their car are not getting behind the wheel and practicing death race.
Yeah.
They're just not.
Yeah. Yeah, I find it interesting that, you know, I've been involved in various, you know, Targa Classica is a great example where it just raises money for charity. Raises huge money for charity.
Sure.
It does wonderful things. Even in terms of Targa, we made a real, well, not we, the organisers made a real point of that we would visit or drive past every single primary school we possibly could. And you drive past and give the car a rev and wave and bip your horn, and the kids love it. Yeah. And they make gifts for you, so you get past and little paper cutouts of cars and stuff. It's just adorable. It was great. There's never any reports of that on the news. There's never the amount of car culture things out there that bring positivity. If it's
Shitbox Rally recently.
Shitbox Rally, Make-A-Wish Foundation taking kids out on racetracks. Yeah. But there's never any stories about that. The minute someone pops and crackles their exhaust down in Barangaroo,
Hoons
the Hoons, it's the end of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, there are the Muppets out there. Anyone that's doing burnouts in the middle of an intersection with a whole bunch of people around videoing it, that's just ridiculous. That's stupid behaviour.
Or cranking it up on the Westgate Bridge.
Yeah.
Like, you know, even from the point of view of, that would probably be a fairly safe place to start cranking a car up. That's not advice.
No, don't do that.
Don't go out and do it. Yeah. But just from the point of view of the economic disruption if you have a crash.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If the whole road is closed for 3 hours because you neck your car into the barrier and they've got to extract you and close the road for the safety of the paramedics and the crash rescue team, then that's unfortunate, isn't it? Right? And you shouldn't be doing shit like that. But, you know, generally there's this – it's another one of those news-related inversions because you've got some vision that looks compelling and you can tell a story about the end of life on Earth kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like you can just G it up so that it's a one step removed from a nuclear holocaust on four wheels.
I even remember a couple of years ago, there was some poor old bugger that was in his 90s and he accidentally hit the accelerator instead of the brake, or maybe put it in drive instead of reverse and drove into a cafe. No one was injured. Like, it was just, you know, a lot of property damage. But the way the news reported that was like, poor old bastard. He's done this, whoops-a-daisy. And it was almost comical. And I'm like, if that was a 24-year-old in a
who
modified
made exactly
BMW,
the same mistake.
It'd be the end of the world.
Out of control.
It's just like, come on. But again, yet another reason that we should all just stop watching free-to-air television. But
I think you're advocating for something that's already happened. Like, who's still watching?
This is true. Yeah.
I couldn't watch the news if my life depended on it, but only because I know how it goes together. Yeah. And if you know how it goes together, I mean, if it's a slow day, that's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, I think more and more people are becoming aware of this. They're becoming aware of just even we discussed it recently in terms of AI slop on YouTube.
Yeah,
I think more and more people are becoming savvy of what's AI, and also in terms of social media, like how that feed is coming to you. That is uniquely designed to have you clicking and scrolling through and death scrolling there forever.
Yeah, but I'd rather watch AI slop for the duration of the news as opposed to watching Sandra Sully read the prompter.
Yeah.
Like, the thing about the news that's really fake, okay, is that the newsreader is not reading their words. No. They're just reading somebody else's words. They fundamentally don't have an opinion. Many of the newsreaders I've met aren't smart enough to have an informed opinion about anything. They're just fucking A-grade prompter readers, right? Yeah. They can read the prompter like a bastard, but that doesn't mean they've got any sort of high IQ or any skill with critical thinking. Yeah. They just look good in a suit or a dress and they read the prompter well. And, you know, some of them don't even read the prompter that well. Yeah. Particularly if you're a woman, right? If you're a woman and you're just the Goldilocks hot enough newsreader, you can be terrible at reading the prompter because you're not there to read the prompter. Yeah. You're just there to look, you know.
Well, that was the argument. Like, you know, won't get into the depths of media, but there's a great documentaries regarding Fox News in the US and how some of the people are employed on that, where people that are genuine journalists with integrity and of great acclaim not getting certain news reading jobs because they just weren't hot enough. And it's like, that's disappointing, isn't it?
But there's a disconnection. I guess the thing is that's relevant to people listening to us. I hope there's no ambiguity about what you or I really think about something. No. Right? And we're not editing this endlessly. This is an as-if live conversation with no preparation. There's no, and when he says Hoons, I'm going to laugh and we're going to cut away to this. There's none of that, right? We're just having an authentic conversation. When you watch a newsreader or you watch a reporter, right, you've got no idea what they really think about anything. And in fact, what they really think has been surgically removed from the whole process. And that's why it's so unrelatable and so fake. They don't even talk to you anymore. You listen to that script that she's reading, she's not talking to a person. Yeah. Right? She's reading this meticulously prepared word vomit salad thingo that's got all the buzzwords in it, but she's not talking to a particular person. See, we do this thing on this podcast from time to time where I decide that I don't want to talk to you anymore and I just talk to you now, right? Because you're at the other end of the screen listening to us have a chat. And then when I want you to go into voyeur mode, I just talk to you. Yeah. Right?
And I think this is where, like, this isn't a podcast about media and news, but I do think because of podcasts like this and because of YouTube, all of a sudden news just feels very old school.
And fake.
Totally fake. Even the way it's set up behind the desk and what they're wearing, like, nobody wears that. And, no one speaks like that. So it's almost like late night TV. Yeah. I think the late night shows are feeling less and less authentic because Conan O'Brien's gone and done a podcast where he can actually have long form chats and it feels very, very legit.
Yeah.
And
that's it. It's the feeling of legitimacy and it's not as polished. Like what we do is not as polished as the news because we don't have 50 people working on half an hour of it. Yeah. Right? But what it is at least it opens the door to an authentic fly on the wall thing with hopefully two dudes who know what they're talking about when it comes to cars in this case. And all the other podcasts that are around there are exactly like that. And that's why that's thriving and that's why the news is dying. And the only reason we're talking about this particular thing in relation to the news is because the news does proliferate into car culture and it does influence politics and policing and enforcement and all of that kind of thing. It has undue influence on that kind of shit that impacts the rest of us. That's why they're all pro the Orwellian levels of surveillance that we experience. We experience when we drive around. We've got cameras looking at you for whether you're wearing your fucking seatbelt now. And, you know, I'm pretty sure I could drive around holding this little piece of steel here like this and cop about 1,000 fines from some AI that decided that I was holding my phone while I was driving. Yeah. And I think the onus would be on me to prove that I was just holding this piece of steel plate.
Yeah, it's nice. Shall we answer a question?
We shall.
Let's do it.
And if you've got a question, you can email us. questions@autouncovered.com.au. Take the reins, be part of the show and steer us around a little bit and that'll take some of the pressure off us because then we just have to answer your questions.
Mate, this is from John, not you.
Right.
A different John.
Thanks for the clarification.
There's a second John out there.
Otherwise, I was going to go and get a brain scan.
I know. Yeah. Further to your chat last week about fudged sales numbers, I have a two-part question. Firstly, what is the incentive for car makers to distort sales in this way? Secondly, Does the warranty begin from registration as a demo or when the car is legitimately sold? Let's go first. What is the incentive for car makers to distort sales in this way?
They want to report back to head office that they've sold the target number of cars because the factory is this machine on steroids. It's like the ultimate anabolic roid rage production environment where they've got to just pump out cars endlessly because mass production and low margins, high capital cost, got to recoup this, got to recoup that. So each region has a target, a volume target, and the only way they can meet their volume targets, which are often very ambitious, let's say, is to fudge it.
Yeah. I think it's also that it's a way for car manufacturers, especially the ones that are dipping in sales, to seem relevant to the market.
Yeah.
So if you're a Mercedes or an Audi or a BMW and you've got this influx of Chinese
or a
cars,
Volkswagen or a Nissan, and
yep.
you're being fundamentally upended by China.
Exactly. The way to seem still legitimate in the marketplace is to have decent sales. I think it's almost, you could use a restaurant as an analogy here. If you go past a restaurant and it's full of people, you're generally thinking, that must be a bloody good restaurant. And if you go past a restaurant and there's 2 people in there, you're probably not going to go to that restaurant because you just instinctively think, well, something might be wrong with that restaurant. Yeah. And I think it's the same with car sales. If Mercedes were suddenly, or Nissan or whoever it happens to be, if their real sales were being publicised and they're not even in the top 15 or 20 manufacturers out there, that doesn't bode well for confidence from buying that particular brand.
No.
So I think they need to, let's enhance the numbers so they at least look like they're still worthy of being bought in the first place.
You got to also remember that these demonstrators that are out of control, the number of demonstrators, they get sold next month, right, as used cars essentially.
But do they get sold?
Well, either that or they just pile up.
Yeah.
Right, and you hear about that from time to time, like MG had a they just pile up scenario with the MG4.
Yep.
Right. And Hyundai had one with
Ioniq 6.
Ioniq 6,
yeah.
Right? They were just out of control because the factory needs the regions to keep ordering from them. And those targets, when I say ambitious, there's a shit ton of pressure coming from head office overseas. And the dude in charge is really like he's the boss in Australia, which means he's a shit kicker in the context of the company broadly, right? So he's just like a country manager when you think about from the top down.
Yes.
So he gets kicked really hard to sell cars. And he's got to make the numbers, otherwise they bone him.
Yeah.
In many cases, but in the case of, let's say, a Chinese company that puts a Chinese dude in charge, hyper-competitive environment in China, the dude in charge of Australia has clawed his way into this position and he's basically climbed over the top of 200 other people who wanted his job, and now he's got to perform. If he's not performing, they'll just bone him.
Yeah.
Right? He'll get chucked, so he's got to perform, and the only way he can perform is to keep ordering the cars and then register them as demonstrators, and there's your volume strategy. And then they can discount them without it looking like a fire sale.
Yeah. Because
those cars are really used technically now, which brings us to the second part of that question, which was when does the warranty start? And the answer is first registration, which means when they register that car as a demonstrator, warranty clock is ticking.
Yeah. Would they be, I suppose it comes down to the company and even the dealership, if they're willing to go, look, this has been a demo model for 12 months. It's supposed to have a 5-year warranty. Tell you what, we'll just give you another year on top. We'll get that in writing somehow. Is that a possibility?
I guess anything's possible, but generally, no.
Okay.
You don't get that. Generally, you've still got consumer law entitlement. So if you've got a 5-year warranty and it's 1 year as water under the bridge, car's just been sitting there up on blocks waiting for you to buy it, then you should have got a shit hot discount on that car because you're essentially buying a brand new 12-month-old used car.
Yep.
Right? And so you should get a substantial discount on that. And part of the discount is, it doesn't have the full warranty because to you it's a used car. To you, it's a new car, but it's really a used car.
Yeah.
Okay, so you cop it on the chin for the loss of that warranty. But why would you buy a brand new 12-month-old car unless it was super cheap.
Yeah. It's funny, we're filming a Mercedes-Benz EQC 400 tomorrow, which was their, the brand's first proper EV, even though it's not built on an EV platform. It's a GLC SUV made electric.
Have you got the blood off it from the financial blood?
Well, I was trying to get, we've got some contacts at Mercedes, and I was trying to get the numbers, and I couldn't get them. I'd love to know how many are just still in warehouses in Melbourne gathering dust, because that was a sales flop for the brand. Massive, massive sales flop.
Well, that was the thing about the Ioniq 6s too. These cars are quite old, right? And they're electric.
Yeah.
So what's the implication for the battery? And of course, if you asked a car maker about that, they'd say, oh, the cars are being stored in accordance with the battery preservation protocol, and they'd have all this shit, right? But last time I looked, it was probably a mistake not to cycle lithium-ion batteries.
Yeah. It's also the problem that the Merc has. It's just outdated now. Like it's almost becoming to a point where it's maybe not that financially viable, because all of the tech in it is quite old versus what's now coming out for a lot less money.
Probably running Windows XP.
Very possibly. But yeah, it's really interesting. Like, it was a sales flop. So even new, they were doing 25. Some customers or some owners even reported they got a 30% discount from new. Now on the used market, they've dipped under $50,000. We're talking a car that retailed for over $150,000 with on-road costs and a couple of options. So they've already dropped $100,000 in value in a couple of years. It's just horrific. But then I'd love to know how many they're sitting on that just haven't sold.
But what sort of a shallow vein posturing prat would you have to be to buy one, right? Because when you think about the environmental good you could do for that amount of money, right? And when you think about, it's ridiculous to spend that amount of money to start saving money on fuel. So what is the reason for buying that car? And it's just because you're a green shallow vein posturing prat.
Yeah, it's the brand name. Which again, you and
Hence the posturing prat.
Yeah, like, where you and I have to be careful is because we drive and experience so many cars. The brand name means nothing. Sure. I couldn't care what's written on it. I have as much love for a Suzuki Alto as I do for a Ferrari. Insert numbers and letters here.
I got more for the Alto than a Ferrari.
How good's a Suzuki Alto?
Anyway, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, but we also have to remember there are people out there, and I totally understand. I have mates that are that work their asses off to one day have a Merc sitting in their garage, and it's a great way to go. I worked hard, look at what I can afford, because that's been the dream car. That's been the brand I've lusted after.
Yeah, the 3-pronged shuriken is a thing. But come on.
My where I get disappointed, and this is what I found doing the research on the EQC, those people deserve better.
Yeah, they do.
I feel for the fans of the brand, because I go, you guys, like, it's funny, this next week we're filming this EQC 400, which is, I think it's a 2020 model, maybe? Yeah, 2020, 2021.
I think that should be the marketing write-off, the slogan for Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz, you deserve better.
The tagline.
Because you deserve it.
Well, here's what we're going through at the moment. So just finished research and writing the script for this video we're filming tomorrow on this EQC. Yeah. Next week we're filming a 2021 Honda Fit, which never came here. It's the import. It's the hybrid Honda Fit.
Yeah.
They're of the same year. They've got a similar amount of kilometres on these two used models. Yeah. I'm struggling to find any issues with this bloody Honda Fit. Like, I am having to dig deep into the dark web to uncover any problems that this car can possibly have.
There may be no dirt to dig.
It has all of the active safety features. Yeah. It's got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It's got a nice stereo. It's got everything you need, right? So it's weirdly got a similar level of tech as the Merc.
Yeah. It's like the freaking Prius that they don't sell here now.
I know.
Like, come on.
Another car we struggle to find any problems with.
Best Prius ever.
But how can a $150,000 luxury SUV be riddled with issues? Absolutely, and ridiculous stuff. I don't understand. As a Mercedes fan, I don't get it, John. I don't know why. Like, how is it getting? I know we've gone way off topic with this question.
Yeah. No, I get that. But how can that? There's a point here, and that is, how does Mercedes-Benz get away with it, with undercutting people in this way? Like, they're massively undercut. If you buy that car, you're a loser. But you kind of got sucked into the vortex, though. It wasn't like it wasn't like you did this to yourself. You might have just unwittingly suffered the wrong choice.
Yeah.
You know, you made the wrong choice and now you've got to wear it because the depreciation's out of control, and depreciation's really just supply and demand.
Yeah.
You know, if no one wants it, the depreciation's pretty high.
Yeah. But yeah, again, it's the fudged sales figures. And to answer the questions, personally, I think it's obviously the bosses are under deep pressure to sell cars, obviously.
And everyone's doing it.
Everyone's doing it. But I also, again, I do think a big part of it is so the public perception of the brand is that they're still worthy to buy in the first place. I think the restaurant analogy kind of sits right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
If you fall out of the top 10, that's the wrong sort of news.
Bad.
And it goes back to head office. The boss gets reamed.
Exactly.
You know, okay, shall we shift now? But if you've got a question, questions at autouncovered.com.au, because that allows us to go completely off the reservation and forget about your question and just talk about Mercedes.
What's your topic, John?
What do you carry all the time? Like,
Okay.
you're a young, handsome, modern dude, you carry a phone.
That's a lovely compliment.
And I always see you wearing a watch.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you've got, that's a pretty sexy watch too, by the way. What else do you carry? There's a point to this.
That's about it. Oh, no, okay. I have a bracelet here that was given to me by my grandparents, which is probably my most prized possession, and a couple of rings that my better half gave me. And that's about it.
That's it. That's pretty minimal, I'd have to say.
A minimal kind of guy, John.
Okay, but you're out in cars all the time. What do you do if something goes wrong? What do you carry?
Well, it depends on the car. If it is something a little older, so we have a redriven 1997 RAV4.
Yeah.
I have there's always a jump starter pack in that. This has got some little electronic gremlins.
Yeah.
If I'm doing a trip that is anywhere away from civilization, I'll take a little toolkit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes
And
good
a first
sense.
aid kit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the reason I asked this is because I'm at the absolute, I knew I'd be at the other end of the spectrum
Okay.
from you.
Okay.
Right? So I've always got a toolkit with me, always. And it varies, like it's modular. There's 3 of the fuckers, right? Like if I'm going to a wedding, I only take this small one here.
Yeah.
Right.
Like into the wedding, into the reception?
Well, yeah, because you never know when you're going to fix something.
Okay.
Right? If you've lived your life, your identity is that fix-it dude, right?
Yeah.
And just when I walk around normally, right, I've got this other toolkit.
Right.
Okay. So I've got this other bigger version of this toolkit, which allows you to fix whatever.
Yeah.
You know, lots of other stuff. It's just like a pumped up version of that.
Yeah, but just real quick, if anyone's listening, so the first one that the wedding attire, I'd say that's the previous one, that like kind of khaki green one.
Let me get my ruler.
Okay.
Out of my handbag.
Okay, it's
It's about 150.
yeah, 150 by what, 100?
Oh yeah, 120.
120, and then this
And it's probably 50 thick. It's thick at its thickest.
yeah, and then the other bag, which is it's almost like a very masculine purse.
Yeah, it is. Well, this would be like A5. So, you know, so I guess it's like roughly A5, and it's an A5 version of the same thing.
Yeah,
It's got because you never know what you're going to experience. It's
Yeah.
got the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot on it, just in case. Right?
Beautiful.
So the point I'm making about all of this is that there's a broader point here, right?
Sure.
Is that I've got this other toolkit just there on the other side of the punching bag.
Right.
Right? And it's like, I don't know, probably about 50 or 60 pounds worth of toolkit that I should throw it in the ute if I'm going somewhere.
Sure.
And I need a bigger hammer, so to speak.
Sure.
Because one never knows, and if one goes to one's parents' place or something, one's father gets some shit tool to do something, and it's just like being in hell when you haven't got the right tools.
Yes.
Okay. I don't think the average person brings the right tools with them ever when they're in their car, right?
It would have to be less than 0.5% of people.
You know why I think they get it wrong?
What's that?
Because they don't aim to fix the most serious problems.
Mm-hmm.
And you said earlier that you always bring a first aid kit. What's in it? Your first aid kit. When was the last time you opened it?
1986.
Yeah, that'd be typical. And it'll have Band-Aids and eye wash,
Yeah.
right? And a pair of tweezers and a triangular bandage.
Yeah.
You know what you need? You need shit that's going to buy you time.
Yeah.
before the paramedics lob, okay? And nobody carries it.
Yeah.
Nobody. People like this basic workshop here and my other workshop, which is more of a factory unit thing.
I wouldn't call it basic. This is pretty elaborate.
Yeah, it looks elaborate. It's pretty basic compared with industry. But anyway, you can hurt yourself badly and you might not be here still when the paramedics arrive, okay? The same thing can happen when you're just out and about. Someone can come off a push bike and end up with a bloody star picket through them, you know, and that can be very serious or not that bad. If it doesn't hit a major blood vessel or something, okay, right? Someone's leaking all over the floor or you're leaking all over the floor. You need to be able to deal with that.
Yeah.
Nobody's got that shit on them. Nobody's even got the training.
No.
Right? So I strongly suggest – now, I started doing this when I hung out with paramedics because we did these drive programs all the time and we had to have a paramedic just in case someone got hurt on the event, right? These are like private paramedics, but they've been in the ambulance service for years and years and years, and they're generally, you know, retired or working as a contractor on their time off, whatever. And you start listening to some of the stories they tell and you think, holy shit, I'm not equipped for any of this stuff at all, right? And I don't think anyone is statistically. So I want to show you the toys that I think you should carry.
Okay.
Right?
You're going to say what they are. Can I describe what they look like to people not watching?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So I got this little pouch, right?
Yep.
And I've got trauma kit just up there on the wall.
Yep.
It's in the same spot. And I've got 5 of these trauma kits, right? I got 1 in each car. Yep. They're all decked out exactly the same so that I know exactly what's in them. And whatever one I pick up is good to go.
Yeah.
All right? But basically, you need the high-tech miracle of a tourniquet.
Yes.
Because if you come across a car crash and somebody is arterially spurting across the cabin, you need to fix that quickly because they will not be there when the paramedics arrive if you don't.
Now, everybody listening, it looks very much like the straps that you put over your shoulder with a backpack, but this is where your leg or arm would go through and you can tighten it up.
And they come in a plastic bag, right? But you got to take it out of the plastic bag because it takes you like 5 to 10 seconds to get it out of the plastic bag.
Yep.
And one of the things you should do with your tourniquet is you should stage it, which means set it up the right size for your own leg so you can get it over your leg one-handed, right?
Great
and then
call.
you can put it on. And you can't improvise a tourniquet. And I know we're going to get someone in the comments and they're going to say, oh, those tourniquets, they'll amputate your leg if you fit a tourniquet. It's horseshit, dude. If you need a tourniquet, you're about to die.
Yeah.
And you need to stop that bleeding, right? And it's medically acknowledged. I'm confident that the balance of credible first responder type advice is that if you've got that serious arterial bleeding, you need a tourniquet.
Yeah.
And improvising one is a bad idea because you'll be shit at it.
Yep.
And the other thing you really need to carry is in this little plastic vacuum packed bag. Description, please.
Okay, this is how am I going to describe that? Imagine what you get coffee beans in, like that kind of plastic bag.
It's about half a bagel.
Yeah, about half a bagel, and it's like vacuum sealed shut. And it's a lovely, what do you call it? Almost a khaki green colour?
Yeah, it's a greeny colour.
Yeah.
It's a thing called a modular bandage.
Okay.
Right? So if you've got the other kind of bleeding or you come across someone who's got the other kind of bleeding, which is not spurting across the room but just leaking like a bucket of claret being slowly tipped out across the floor, you need something like that.
Okay.
Okay? And you can look it up. You look it up on YouTube, modular bandage.
Sure.
And you get some paramedic on YouTube and they'll show you how to use one. But the key word is in the name. It's modular, right? So it's made to cure these sorts of just significant bleeding that can take you out before the paramedics lob or take someone else out before the paramedics lob. And I don't see anybody in their home workshops or in their cars carrying this shit. And every time I see a first aid kit, it hasn't got this stuff in it. It's got Band-Aids.
Yeah, mine does not have any of this.
Yeah.
Like
and
none of
this stuff is specifically designed to buy you time for the paramedics to lob because there aren't too many other things that can kill you quickly. Like, sure, you can have a penetrating injury to your chest or something, and one of your lungs or both of them can collapse, and that'll kill you pretty quickly, or a big head injury. But there's not very much that a fairly untrained person on the scene can do for you if you've got a chest injury like that or a head injury like that. But there's plenty that some mug punter can do if you're just leaking.
Yeah.
Right?
Wouldn't it be great if part of getting a driver's license is that you have to do some kind of first aid course?
Yeah.
Just something.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, we're not saying perform surgery on the side of a road.
No.
But just the basics of first aid. And it would be great if it was it's as natural as putting on a seatbelt when you get in a car. Is that, well, you get a car, it just has a good first aid kit, like a proper, like this level of first aid kit.
Yeah.
It just should be a standard thing. I'd love to know how many people, Aussies especially, that go on a road trip over the Christmas holidays and they've packed the car full of every belonging they've ever bought.
Yeah.
And I bet there's no first aid kit in there.
But see, I know guys who would have a debate with other guys about what tools to carry for roadside repair and what four-wheel drive recovery kit and what spares you need to drive across the Simpson Desert, mate.
Yep.
And all of that stuff. And they might go to the chemist and buy a first aid kit.
Yeah.
Right? But it'll be shit at anything except, I got a blister or a splinter in my finger or I burnt myself boiling the billy. None of that's going to kill you. You need a boo-boo kit for that. People don't carry this shit, and it does my head in because you can make such a difference. But without it, you kind of, even if you've got the skill set, it's really hard to do anything. The other thing you might think about carrying is what they call packing gauze.
Yeah.
Right? Because packing gauze is just gauze.
Yep.
Like it's sterile gauze, but it's got a metal filament in it that shows up in X-ray, so they can't leave it in you, right? And it's particularly good if you've got a wound on a junctional site, like in your shoulder or in your groin, because you can't put a tourniquet on that. Yeah. So you just jam it in really hard and really tight, right on top of the bleeding, whatever, and then you wrap it with your modular bandage because it's so freaking versatile. And that's just enough to buy somebody time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can get this other stuff, it's packing gauze, but they call it hemostatic gauze. Okay. It's got a coagulating agent in it. Sure. And it's expensive. Yeah. Right? But just the normal stuff can make all the difference. So if you've got those three things, the tourniquet and a modular bandage and some packing gauze, you can make a real difference to someone else. You could also make a real difference to yourself if you hurt yourself in your own workshop. And I'm like always either here or there playing with murder machines. And if I hurt myself over there's no one coming to the rescue.
But even if you've got kids playing sport.
Sure.
Or if you're mountain biking or cycling.
Mountain biking. How easy is it to come off a mountain bike onto a piece of broken timber that just pokes a hole in you?
I'm covered in scars. I've got a scar on my arm from going through a fence from mountain biking.
Perfect.
And I remember getting back to the car and going, I think it might have been a press car that week. So I didn't actually have the first aid kit in the car. And I was bleeding like crazy. Yeah. Not dying, obviously, because I'm here doing this podcast. But I remember thinking, I wish I had a bloody first aid kit. But what an idiot I am to go mountain biking, which I never sort of hold back at, and not have any kind of medical stuff in the car whatsoever. I would dare say there would be more people with an OBD reader in their car driving around Australia at the moment than there would having a first aid kit.
Yeah, exactly. They've got a diagnostic kit for the car.
You can tell what fault code your air fuel ratio is doing, but if you stub your toe, you're stuffed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I think I think it would be great if there was, as I said, some kind of first aid course you have to do when you get your license. Yeah. That would be brilliant. And then it just should be the standard go-to. You have a decent first aid kit in the car at all times. I think surely it's one of those things that anything's better than nothing, even if you haven't done the course. But if someone's bleeding or someone's injured, if there's just something you can do to try to stop the bleeding, to try to help them out, that's surely better than just not doing anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But it's like everything else. If you are the fix-it guy, which I tend to be in my different social and family circumstances, there's only a limited number of things you can do without the right tools, and that's why I've got this sort of modular approach to tools. So wedding toolkit fits in the tuxedo,
Nice.
you know, so to speak,
Yep.
or your handbag toolkit, or your car. You know, take it anywhere. You can fix stuff at your parents' place or whatever. You know, and that just expands your capability envelope.
Yeah.
Right? If you know what you're doing in the tool domain.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm pretty sure mechanics do that as well. Mobile mechanics have a fairly substantial capability envelope because they know what they're doing, but they come equipped.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is a long-winded way, I think, of saying that people should pay some attention to the most serious problem you could have in your car when you're out there on the road, which is someone could be croaking in front of you, and without the right tools, you'd probably never forgive yourself.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Like we all concentrate so hard on, you know, bar work and aerials and lighting or lowering a car or performance mods. We're all so focused on that. But the worst case scenario isn't your car breaking down. It's someone getting injured or potentially nearly dying.
Cyclist comes out of nowhere, you clean them up, and they've got a massive hole in them or a gash somewhere and it's leaking badly. Are you going to be able to deal with that? And it does my head in that chemist shops, which is where the average person you'd think would go for this kind of stuff, they don't sell that kind of shit.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's
Incidentally, I don't have any affiliation with them, but I got this stuff in a kit from a business called TACMed Australia, TACMED. Yep. The value is pretty good. They sell high quality stuff. I don't have a commercial association with them at all, but one of the reasons I bought from them is they're a bunch of former military paramedics.
Yeah, well,
right.
They know
So
what they're doing.
service to the nation, and they know what they're talking about. They've met a whole bunch of people overseas having the worst day of their lives, and kept them going with stuff just like this. So anyway, I'd suggest that if you've got any spare cash, you should go and tool yourself up for.
Well, even from a fun point of view, again, got to say we don't have any affiliation with these guys. Like, they're not paying us. There's no commercial interest. But even as a I'm sure a lot of our listeners are the same as me here, where like I'll research the shit out of buying a backpack. Or I love a backpack. I love packing. I love suitcases. There's something about having stuff organised in a bag.
Yeah,
so make this
camera bags.
fun. Camera bags. Oh my god, a camera bag with a modular interior. Oh, stop it. I think, taking that approach into medical stuff and doing a bit of research, I'm going to get this gauze, I'm going to get this, and actually having it in a cool pack that goes in your car or whatever cars you have.
And I'd further suggest don't buy your tourniquet from Temu.
No. Don't buy
that could end badly.
Yeah, I think when it comes to medical stuff, it's good to spend a bit more than less.
Yeah. The two ones to get are called SOF, S-O-F, or cat.
Okay.
Like the pussy.
Yeah. The not dog. Yeah. Actually.
So this was a bit different and maybe a little bit peripheral to the general.
No, I love it.
Pulling the pants down on the automotive industry. But this is just such a blind spot for people that I've observed for bloody years, and I've never actually done a package on it. So here we are.
Yeah. And actually, again, to all my cyclist friends out there, if you're a mountain biker or a cyclist, throw this stuff in your car.
Or a motorcyclist. Well, fancy having a bloody altercation with a piece of Armco that's like razor sharp one day. Jesus.
Yeah, my God. Mate, shall we wrap it up?
We shall.
I will see you next week.
Yes.
Done.
Or whenever.